Welcome to the Inside Texas Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Joe Cook, got Justin Wells, got Ian Boyd. We're here on Thursday. It's draft day, but we got some college football players to talk about first. But if you're here, thank you for watching. Make sure you do like this video and subscribe to the channel. We'll be bringing it all day, all weekend, all year, essentially. Good time to go to Inside Texas, of course, and to sign up. Our promo is still running. You can get 4 months for just $1. Today is August 24th. Texas kicks off August 31st. So 4 months from now, that gets you to the week right before the Longhorns travel to Columbus to play the Ohio State Buckeyes. You're not going to want to miss this. You're not going to want to miss anything leading up to it. We'll have everything between now and then fully covered. The draft, recruiting, any more portal stuff that happens, official visits, summer workouts, SEC meetings, SEC media days, all that stuff. We're going to have it over on Inside Texas. So make sure you go join $1 for 4 months. And our friends at Academy do more than just sponsor this show. They're sponsoring an Inside Texas tailgate giveaway tomorrow. Tailgate for the Texas A&M baseball game, first game of the series. You can win a Blackstone griddle, a Yeti hard cooler, a 10x10 Texas flag canopy, 2 UT folding chairs, and 2 Yeti 20-ounce tumblers. Location is just basically behind the batter's eye in center field. There will be a few different tailgate tents provided by the official tailgate operation that Texas contracts. I think it's Revel. We'll have a big old Inside Texas banner. You won't be it'll be hard to miss us. I think we might have this stuff out there. So look for us, center field, on the grass, in between the dish and the tennis center. No purchase necessary, must be 18, and must be present. So should be a good time. We're excited to see everybody out there. Thank you all for joining this morning. Roaster, appreciate you as always. Chris Bennett, we may talk about that a little bit. May not see Jared Spencer pitching for Texas for a good while, which stinks. May see Ruger Riojas in that spot. So, hey, we'll be out there supporting no matter who is on the bump for the Horns. And then, wow, it's about to be Will Gallagher season, right, Justin?
Man, every year I always look forward to that. And we do something unique every year. So I'm curious what you come up with this season.
The daily countdown I was proud that we did that, but
you won't do that again.
That is some effort, man. Because once you get into like 58, there's nobody wore 58 worth a darn.
No.
You're going through offensive linemen who haven't played all that much. You're kind of
you're in walk-on land, brother.
Yeah. Court Jaquist, if you're watching, you made 57 a fun day. But yeah, we got to get into the 40s and 30s before we start having fun. But hey,
didn't he go to Lowe's for his like 2020 workout regimen deal? Like he built a thing during the 2020 thing.
Yeah. He also had a neck roll too, so he looked like peak walk-on linebacker.
We need to bring that back. That and the tearaway jerseys. They need to bring some of the good stuff back. I don't know about the midriff.
The mesh jerseys.
People's stomach. But we need to bring back some of that old school stuff.
Tom Osborne and Bill Callahan would have been proud of all that stuff. So, Ian, instead of talking about the decline of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, which I think we can go over in great detail at some point, let's talk about Texas at defensive tackle. You wrote something this morning about platoons and just kind of explain, I think anybody who's watched the Longhorns know that their defensive tackles, for the most part, operate in duos. But what's the overarching – what are they looking for at each of those spots when they are deploying 2 guys out there to hold the point of attack?
Well, first of all, they platoon very, very heavily. So, like, that's the thing, especially in the South, when you got to play in 90-degree heat for half the season. You cannot play your 2 main guys for 60-plus snaps and expect to get elite play. So everybody's building platoons where they can send them in waves like hockey lines. That's basically the strategy now in the South. In the Big Ten, they actually can get away with playing their main guys like a lot more, but not down.
Cold.
And cold makes an enormous difference. Yeah, I mean, you see that every year with Texas. You see that every year with Texas. Their defensive tackles usually end up really showing out in like November and December when the weather drops down. And then you'll see the rotation thin out as well. So, yeah, they got to have platoons. And the key is the second line needs to be close to as good as the first line. Or it needs to be, at least it needs to be pretty darn good. Because your second line plays a ton. So again, any hockey fans out there, you can't just have like one good line and expect to win. You need multiple lines that have complementary components. And the complementary components you need on the D-tackle rotations is you need one guy who's just a solid rock and extremely hard to move. You can really play either 3 technique or nose tackle. That part doesn't matter as much, and they tend to move them around anyway. But you need at least one guy who's a solid rock, and then another guy who can do some damage one-on-one. And again, that guy could play he usually plays 3 technique, but like Byron Murphy was that guy, and he played nose. So that part, the positions almost don't matter as much as the types. The big anchor, and then I have in the article I say the disruptor. So
when you're thinking like Vertugian man and I think everybody can envision Sweat and Murphy, who they did, and to that point, I think it's clear to say, it's important to say, when it was crunch time, they would put their 2 best out there.
They were well rested because of what Ian was talking about.
Right. But like the best illustration of this at Texas is obviously Sweat and Murphy.
Yeah. Even Sweat and Murphy, they didn't play them together until late in the season. Like
right.
you watch the Oklahoma game.
Yeah, you didn't need to play them both.
They would play Sweat with Collins, and they would play Murphy with Brodden, maybe. There's somebody I'm forgetting. The Minnesota kid. I don't know. But, yeah, it wasn't until like late in the year when they could get away with it with the cooler weather again that they really started even playing Murphy and Sweat at the same time. Of course, when they did, that was pretty overwhelming for opponents.
You can ask Iowa State about that, because I think that may have been like one of the first cool weather games. TCU was cool, but it's still Texas. When they went up to Iowa State in 2023, and they had that guy decide to call out, the 2 best defensive tackles in the nation. That's when they put those 2 defensive tackles right up against them, and it did not go well. So you mentioned, last year they had Collins and Broughton. Collins kind of was the hold the point guy while they let Broughton penetrate a bit more, correct?
Yeah.
And then Bill Norton, Jermaine Lole, that was the group they had last year. So now Texas has 5 transfer portal defensive tackles. They've got Alex January probably stepping into an important role. They might have, of the 3 freshmen, and or 4 freshmen, I'll include Melvin Hill since he's a redshirt. Justice Terry probably seems most likely to be ready to play. But then you start going through what specific roles each of these guys might play. What do you think January is going to set himself up to be?
I think January ideally could be kind of a do-it-all guy like Sweat or Collins. In this first year as a starter, we'll see. But it sounds like he's really putting it together, and he might be like the main. They may be able to get away with playing him next to not one of their sturdier transfers. They might be able to get away with playing him next to like a weaker player, which is what I projected in the bottom and all of our.
Maybe one of the freshmen. Maybe one of the freshmen like Josiah Sharma.
No, I don't think we're gonna see that guy for a while.
Sharma's too big.
God.
You want Sharma eating space for somebody else to go work, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. That tandem makes sense whenever Sharma can knows where to put his hands and his feet to blow up double teams.
What did you see from January last year? I think the play everybody kind of remembers is him drawing the Ohio State personal foul that really helped Texas at that point in the game. But there wasn't a ton of opportunity for him with those transfers with Collins and Broughton. But what did you see in those snaps?
Yeah, we kind of made a mountain out of a molehill out of that foul that he drew, just because we know he needs to be important this year, and that's kind of the only thing we have to latch onto. But he had some his snaps against Ohio State were all promising. His snaps against Florida were promising. He can hold his ground. He was holding his ground pretty decently as a freshman. He's obviously one of the more athletic guys on the team. He has length. He's basically like, I mean, again, he could be Alfred Collins, and I think he might be Alfred Collins faster than Alfred Collins was Alfred Collins.
He can hit a fastball better than Alfred Collins.
You know, that makes sense because Collins was like a freak athlete, but the specifics of fine-tuned points of technique came to him super slow.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that would make sense that January would maybe be like more coordinated. I think he may be a starter depending on how things shake out and who they want to pair him with. But he probably needs to be great for Texas to win a championship this year.
Justin, what did you see from him, as a recruit? He's listed at 6'5", 317 on the roster. I think during recruiting he was kind of floating around 320, got college strength and conditioning. But what did you see from January that made it pretty easy to see he'd either contribute early, possibly as a freshman, or early in his career here now as a true sophomore?
I don't want to say we necessarily saw anything jump off the chart with him playing early. It was kind of the circumstance of him playing, because he was a starter at a powerhouse school in Duncanville as a 15-year-old sophomore, which on the defensive line at a power school like that is very rare. And he was there for 3 years, and everyone around him was highly recruited, and all these stars and all these offers and different things. He kind of went under the covers. Like, I don't think people paid as much attention to him. And that was a great thing for Texas, obviously, because his dad was connected to him. But if you'll remember, like, we met Alex January his freshman year of high school. Like, I'll never forget it. Coach Samuels brought him out, him and Cam Williams. And Alex had one of those Walmart Longhorn hoodies that you see from time, in different random like regional Walmarts or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, by the way, his dad played at Texas. And I'm like, hey, that's awesome. He's like, yeah, but he's only a freshman. I'm like, dang, coach, what are you bringing out a freshman for? He goes, because you want to know this kid. And so it wasn't necessarily that he did anything that eye-popping off the chart. What he did was he put himself in a position to be successful very early in a program full of really good talent. I mean, there may have been a dozen guys they swung by as prospects that day that we were in Duncanville. It was ridiculous. I want to say Amari Abor was a freshman too, or a junior. He was a junior that people were starting to talk about. Like, there were just ridiculous amounts of players there. And Alex January was the one that coaches were like, watch that one. Pay attention to him. He was smart. He was calculated. He worked hard. He was skilled at baseball, so he was going to have to make a decision. I didn't see anything in his recruitment that made me think, oh, that guy's going to be an early starter. I just knew the circumstances around him led me to believe if he does what he's supposed to do, we're going to see this cat playing quite a bit, and I think that's culminated into this year.
We'll keep going in just a sec, but first, a word from our sponsor, and that is Academy.
Days like this, the anticipation's half the fun. The call to adventure. Possibilities in every direction. Look at that. The stories you'll bring back. Even the true ones. And already, you can't wait until next time. From first catch to biggest catch of the season, this is where it starts. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there.
I almost stopped by Academy yesterday just to window shop, but I kept on driving. Next up, Cole Brevard, Purdue transfer, started his career at Penn State. Ian, you kind of mentioned the Big Ten. When you're in Happy Valley, when you're in West Lafayette, you can deploy your top guys out there. Brevard, probably going to be someone who plays a lot this year. They wouldn't have brought him in otherwise, but you see him probably being the one that clutters things up a little bit more than anything else.
Yeah, I think he's Bill Norton part 2. Only I think he's actually maybe a little better than Bill Norton. So he'll play a lot. He'll be on one of the 2 main lines, and he'll play next to somebody that is disruptive, but maybe could benefit from having Brevard clogging the toilet.
I remember we talked to there's a Purdue on 3 site called Gold and Black. And I talked to Tom, I think his name's Tom Cackert, because he was asking me about Hudson Card. And there was a good comment about, are these the players to be named later in the Fred Akers trade once Cam Heady committed for basketball and once Cole Brevard committed for football? But Justin, this is someone that joined the program during the playoff run for practices. And even then, your views about what Brevard was bringing to the table on the scout team.
You remember we were on the sideline in the Cotton Bowl, and the new guys had kind of walked in, and all the players were getting warmed up in a sense. They weren't necessarily all decked out in their jerseys and everything, but they were warming up. And you saw guys like Lance Jackson and Justice Terry, true freshmen, coming in. You're like, wow, those guys look incredible. Those guys. And then Brevard comes through. And you can say, that's what you're supposed to look like in 3 years, because that guy was filled out. He was thick. And so, and he made an impression early because he got there, he was the first one. And that's always the funny part, because we knew Texas needed 3 or 4 of these guys. We just didn't know exactly who they were going to be. And Brevard was the first one that jumped in. I think you're getting a guy that comes from the land of the Big Ten, where they do play a little bit more, have a few more reps. It is a little colder. He does get a little bit more. I think there will be an acclimation period, but I don't think it's going to be significant. I think it's going to be something that actually helps him with a rotation, keeping him fresh. I'd like to see him maybe a little lighter. I think that 352 is real heavy, but hey, if you anchor and do your job, hey, flow everything outside, let the edges go to work. Cole Brevard's going to be a solid dude. He's going to be a rotational guy that you can count on.
It's got to be so hard to be 350 throughout summer and fall in Texas.
I don't think you can stay at 350. I like the weather's not going to let you stay at 352, not this summer. And the way Torrey Becton works those guys, which makes Travis Shaw needs it too, guys. If anything, Travis Shaw needs it more than all of them.
I bet you, I bet you Sweat would have games where he could have scaled in at 370 pregame and like 350 postgame.
Oh my gosh! Well, I mean,
that's a lot of water weight, Ian.
Yeah, I know. Devondre Sweat.
Sweat. What was it? Remember for the?
That was a missed NIL opportunity right there.
That's what I said. I said he should have had a deodorant label.
Yes. Can you imagine him? A commercial of him, and
here's the punchline. The tagline goes, "Because when Devondre Sweat." He holds out the stick.
I love that. I love it.
Remember Tavon? Speaking of like some of the NFL
and he has
stuff,
the personality to sell that.
Yeah. Speaking of some of the NFL stuff, like remember it was a big deal that Tavondre like checked in at 360 at the combine.
Remember he didn't weigh in somewhere, if I remember correctly.
I think he skipped weigh in at the Senior Bowl, and then at the combine, like you got to weigh in.
Right. Well, because remember Charlie went to see him work out, and he sent us that picture, and he looked better, and we thought that's not anything what we had seen on Twitter or social media throughout the draft and the craze the 4 months prior. And he's like, man, this guy looks like he's been working. Tennessee Titans bought it.
Which lets you know how big he may have been during the 2020.
Look, he was in the 400-pound range in Austin at one stage. Okay. So. And I'll say this, and I'll say this in endearing, funny, enlightening way. There was a staffer on that team that was around when Sweat was early in his formidable years, and this guy, one day he just looks at him and goes, "You're one giant." Like that. And Devondre's just like, big $1 million smile. He goes, "This dude is inhuman right now." And so, yeah, I had to go there. I only you can call Devondre that, and it'd be considered a compliment.
We'll keep going. Travis Shaw, former highly ranked guy out of North Carolina,
highest ranked guy there.
Yeah, left the program when Mac Brown left the program. I had higher expectations for Shaw than for Brevard. That may not be coming to fruition as a result, because hey, when you're 350, that puts a lot of pressure on your joints and appendages. I think they're working on that. We did hear some good returns on him. But Ian, when you're 6'5", 350, when you look like Devondre Sweat, your role is pretty straightforward.
Well, he actually is kind of powerful. So I think he could be a really good 3 technique like Sweat if he's in good shape and he maximizes this offseason. If he doesn't, then yeah, he could, at the very least, you'd think he could be like a sturdy nose. It's just hard to move because he's so big. He's definitely at least that. But it feels like he can push people back some too when he's really going and his conditioning is there. I'm worried about him with the weight and the knees and everything else. I think the best possible 2 deep you can make for Texas in the fall includes like a healthy game conditioned Shaw. But I don't know. That's not what I projected. That's not where I would expect right now to happen. But hopefully, I mean, he could probably fill either role. He's like big and versatile. We'll see on him.
I think it's a little bit of hope he gets there. Maybe that's an indication why they kept going after more in the transfer portal after they got LaVon Johnson. After they got LaVon Johnson, I still have high hopes for him. But yeah, it's going to be about making sure that the weight and the frame work together. Because if not, then hey, this guy's probably going to be unable to get conditioned, unable to see the field as much as he'd like
to. Like a Sadir Mitchell.
Yeah. But hopefully as we mentioned, Torrey Becton can help him out, and he remains healthy, because if he is, there's a lot there. LaVon Johnson, Justin, you and I, we were pretty ambivalent about him. Like, oh, he signed with North Carolina. Okay. Yeah. Oh, he signed with Texas. Okay. But, this is someone who's got multi-year capability, and maybe while that means he doesn't do a whole lot this season, they have him for a few more seasons.
They do. It's funny. I was talking to our Charlie Williams last night, and he had brought up LaVon. He had actually talked to somebody on the Maryland staff recently, just kind of, picking up work habits, things of that sort. And they said, look, LaVon Johnson, when he brings it, he makes an impact. He said, but it's that consistency that he was lacking. They said in his last year, he kind of started getting more consistent. The light started coming on. So Texas may be getting LaVon at pretty much the prime time to pick this guy up out of the portal. But he's got some consistency things. And what's funny? At Maryland, I think you can get away with that, because he was going to be a starter or an important rotational guy. In Texas, if you don't do your job, you're not going to see the field. It's simple as that. And then this whole situation in Austin doesn't work out, and so you're going to be pushed. There's going to be competition every day. If he's open to that and he continues to be consistent, he's going to be a serviceable guy. I don't think he's a difference maker, but I don't think you necessarily have to be at his spot. You just need to do your role really well, and then kind of help out everybody else on that side of the ball. And so he's one of those, you nailed it. It's Mr. Ambivalence. That's what we're going to call LaVon Johnson moving forward. And let's hope that light keeps flickering because his last run at Maryland, they said it was starting to happen. It's going to be a new ball game in Austin with new expectations and new standards.
I had him when they got him. I was like, they needed to get this guy. Until I saw the Syracuse guy, and they got him the next day.
Yeah, the Syracuse. I was like, hey, not bad, Lamont Johnson. Then we saw Murad Watson. It's like, oh,
that's different.
Okay.
Yeah,
a little bit different. We got one more to get to before we go over Watson. But Hero Canoe making his way from the national champions to the Texas Longhorns. This was someone very, very interesting background. As we kind of know, there aren't a bunch of 6'5", 309-pound people walking the planet. Originally from Germany, I believe, made his way to school out in California. Highly ranked, mostly off potential. Signed with Ohio State. What did you see from him, Ian, and what do you think he could provide for the Longhorns?
He's really solid. I think Ohio State wasn't super excited about him. Didn't seem that sad to see him go. At least some of the writers I talked to or heard from over there. But I think that I wonder if their perspective on that has changed after watching the spring game, when their second line was just getting mauled. He's like a really good floor setter. He doesn't have the athleticism or the pop you would hope to see from somebody with his dimensions. You'd hope somebody that's 6'5", 310 would be kind of athletic and able to get into the backfield. And he plays through guys more. He's not really that. Not as agile as maybe you would think. But he was also playing in a scheme at Ohio State that was more attacking oriented. So his ability to just stay in front of the run game is more valuable at Texas. I mentioned him as likely to have a big role, and it feels like our message board has already moved on from him. But I think he's
those guys.
He's one of the safer bets in the transfer class, I would say. Even if his ceiling is not most of these dudes are not going to be anywhere near Tavondre Sweat. You're just hoping to find serviceable rotation, and Canoe is for sure going to be that.
Yeah.
Like I said, multi-year. I think he's got this year and one more, if I'm right. I think
I think he's got at least 2 years.
Yeah. So someone who, hey, if you think you can get more out of him.
My question about Canoe is, I have one question: does he love football? That's my only question.
What brings that up? Just because of background, or
just a little bit of background, a little bit of there's kind of been a new swing in the last few months. There's a new category with NFL draft NFL draft executives. You've got character concerns. Canoe doesn't fall into that. You got great, injury concerns. Canoe doesn't fall in that. They've got a new category. Do you love football? They're coming across a lot of guys that don't necessarily love football because they're getting paid before they've done anything. So there's no necessarily need to grind anymore. And this is where we're going to start seeing a big tilt in the professional game because of this, because of what's happening with NIL. And that's where that comes from. I wonder if Canoe loves football, because this is a guy who's already been paid multiple times. And I'm not questioning him. We think he's going to be serviceable. We think he's going to be able to do that in Austin. He's going to be pushed by Kenny Baker and PK and this really good defense and this standard in Austin. He's going to be pushed. But that new category, there's going to be some guys that fall into that hole. And Canoe is one that I'm kind of watching. I'm wondering, does he like football? Does he love football? There's something to that. And if he comes out and plays really well this year, I think they'll answer those questions. But it's something we have to ask. Because in this new NIL age, you've got a lot of kids that think they've already arrived before they get to the combine. They think they've already done what they need to do before they even get drafted. And so there's something to that, I feel like, because kids are getting paid before they accomplish anything in life.
Young guys need to learn to love discipline. That's not
easy. Man.
There's things I'm finding I could drive myself to do at almost 40 that I could never get myself to do in my 20s or even my early 30s. It's hard to get that without like a whip, driving it.
Yeah. Before we keep on going, gotta show a little bit of love to to a sponsor, and that is Academy. Academy Sports and Outdoors is your new home for Jordan. Gear up today and take flight on the court, off the court, and above the court. Unleash your greatness with head-to-toe Jordan gear for the entire family. Available in-store and online at academy.com with elevated styles and shoes for everyone. Unstoppable value every day. Plus, Academy offers easy ways to shop and save time, like free 1-hour in-store or curbside pickup on academy.com orders. You can also choose same-day delivery powered by DoorDash. So if you order by 4 p.m., you can get it by 8 p.m. Check out Academy's full Jordan selection at Academy Sports and Outdoors today. Always, Justin, I know you're a Jordan brand guy. I think you found a new place to go check it out when you're looking for
we missed a prime opportunity last night. I realized that after the show. We missed it badly. I blame myself, but I'm holding you accountable too. When we were talking about the pure anxiety and pain that the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Mavericks fans have been facing, and I made the comment last night a little haphazardly, because they do, if you're a Cowboys fan or a Mavericks fan today, you basically want to eat a gun. And by the way, have you seen the new sales and selection at Academy? Go check out the new prices. Go check out the new ammo. Like, we could have tied that in so well, and that was my fault.
I don't think that's what they want. I thought you were going to go with a bad Luka joke there from that.
But I tell you what, the Lukas, those are the Jordan brands. The Luka 3s, those are sharp. So yeah, I'm definitely a fan of those shoes.
We'll keep going with Watson in a second, but I do like this from TW. It feels like with the last recruiting class, the multi-year portal additions, Texas is close to overcoming the DT depth issue. Yeah, I'm with you there. You add 3 in the 2025 class: Justice Terry, Josiah Sharma, Moran Charles. For what you may have lacked in the 2024 class, you have January, and then you have Melvin Hills, who hadn't seen the field. But adding 2 to a position doesn't really help with depth. Kind of papered it over last year by having guys who were able to play right away. But when you add Murad Watson, that was a 2024 guy. When you add LaVon Johnson, who I don't know if he was a 2024 guy, but he's on the same calendar now.
He was a 2023, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think he redshirted. Now he's on the same calendar as those 2024 guys. Boom, now you have a 4-guy class. And so you can go to like a more regular schedule. You don't have to take 5 or something like that and reach on some guys as a result. Like, yeah, I think you're right on the money, TW, especially with the next guy that we're about to talk about, and Murad Watson. Ian, I think we've mentioned a little bit, or at least I've mentioned, I thought Brevard was the top of the 5 that they added. I think Murad Watson may be gunning for that spot alongside him because of all the things he can do.
Yeah, he's like the closest to Vernon Brodin they have, I think. Very disruptive. He can play multiple positions. He played like defensive end some in a 3-down at Syracuse. And he didn't play it like, a defensive end. He played it like a defensive tackle. But he's got some mobility out there, and he was like kind of throwing some people around when he got to play outside against tackles rather than guards. And he was really sturdy inside at 3 technique against guards too. He's like, I don't know how he slipped to Syracuse. So somebody that big, I wonder if he was like undersized in high school or.
I think so.
Like
280, but how undersized is that?
Man, I don't know. I don't know how he slipped through, but he has real talent. He could be a game changer because he was better than he's probably got more proven playmaking ability in college games than anybody else at D tackle on Texas's roster. I don't think there's another D tackle on Texas's roster that has made as many actual plays in a college football game as Watson. And was he a redshirt freshman or a true freshman?
think he was a red shirt, wasn't he? Well, no, if he was 24, he would have been a true red shirt. Or
No, he would have been. Let me see. He was class.
I think
He was high school class of. Come on, 3. High school class of 2024, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he did that as a true freshman.
He did that in 12 months, less than 12 months.
I'm excited for him. If there's a clip on YouTube, I think it's all 22 or high end zone cam of him against Washington State in their bowl game, and all the stuff that you wrote, it comes to life on the screen. Like he's doing 2, 3, 4, 5, all the different techniques that Texas puts their defensive linemen at. And he is. I like that Vernon Broughton comparison, looking a lot like what he does. We've gone through 6 guys. There is a 7th. There's only one of them that you mentioned that's a freshman, and that's Justice Terry. A lot of positive reviews. May see some more time, kind of at an end spot, but you feel like he's someone that can contribute this year at defensive tackle.
I just assume whenever you have to drop a bag like they did to get him, you just want to try to get him involved as early as possible.
Yes.
Not have that money sit on the bench. So I just assume that he'll get priority in trying to fill out the third team. And I assume that they'll see if they can find a role for him like in third down.
Justin, does that sound about right?
Ideally you want a Colin Simmons-esque impact. Best of the position, 5-star coming in, but he's a little closer to the line of scrimmage just by a few steps, so it's always a little tougher there. I don't know if you're going to have the Colin effect, but he's going to be a guy that when he does get on the field, he does get in a few plays, he's going to make a few plays. He's going to show you what we hear about in practice reports where, he looks like a freshman sometimes. Sometimes he looks like the guy that everyone knows he's going to be. And, is he listed at 6'3"?
I think the roster had him at like 6'3", 263, but you look at that guy and he's not.
Yeah, I felt like he was a little bit bigger than 6'3". 280 sounds about right, but you have to understand something too about him. He has beautiful weight. Like, it's not bad weight at all. It's good. Like, some of these guys wouldn't hurt them to shed a few of those summer pounds. Justice Terry's not one of those guys. This guy is the moldable clay that you design when you're building a defensive end edge guy on college football, 25. And so I don't think he's going to have a Colin impact, but I think when he does get on the field, people are going to pay attention. He's going to make a few plays, maybe an Alfred Collins freshman year impact. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like, he flashed. And when he flashed, everyone thought, holy crap. He didn't do it consistently. He didn't do it that much. But when he did, he caught your attention. I think Terry's going to be very similar.
There are some guys who, even in a line of scrimmage league like the SEC, like they don't need to be 325. And a lot of that is just because of how their body's built.
Genetics and food habits.
You look at Byron Murphy. What he hit the combine at? Like 308 or something like that. Like, he was not much bigger than there's no way I think that Byron Murphy played at like 315 or above.
He was shorter.
Murphy was big.
Right. And he was shorter.
THICC thick.
But like he didn't have weight on him for weight's sake, which sometimes you have to do with these defensive tackles. Like, they had him playing at the size they thought he needed, and it was like just north of 300. And I think while you definitely want more than 280, unless we're just looking at, the second coming of Aaron Donald, which I'm not saying, but like Aaron Donald played at like 290 in the NFL, but he was so skilled with what he did, and
his body was compact
that it didn't matter. But
him and Murphy are shorter though, so they were thick. They were still thick, but they were if they had been 6'2", 6'3", they would have been like 320 plus because they're so wide.
No, I'm with you. I think it's just one of those things where I don't know how wide Terry is because I've had like a good look at him. But like all I'm saying is that you want more than 280, but I don't think you should expect Terry to like ever play at like 320 or something like that.
No.
Maybe like Warren Sapp or something like that, where he's always in the high 200s or low 300s.
I thought Warren Sapp played a lot bigger.
Sapp was short too, though.
Yeah.
Was he?
People don't realize Warren Sapp's like 6'2", 6'1", 6'2".
That's Coach Sapp to y'all. Let me look up and see what
he was 6'1", 281.
Yes, definitely a Sapp.
He was a freak athlete.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking.
He was a running back in high school, right?
Yeah, and Tampa Bay would throw to him every now and again too.
Didn't he come into that draft class with Derek Brooks, and that essentially transformed. And he got 1 year of the creamsicle, which that's just the greatest uniform ever.
At the combine, Sapp was listed at 6'1", 281.
Yeah. So
he ran a 4.69.
Jesus.
Yeah, there you go. So there's that athleticism.
God.
And yeah, still
I didn't know that.
one of the best ever. Golly, yeah, that's pretty. And Chris Bennett, it was more than just that. So let's keep going.
I mean, that's Miami.
We have all these guys listed, but how do you put them all together? And here was your choices for, first option of the two defensive tackles, second, third. Kind of take us through why you put each guy where they're at.
So assuming Alex January is the best overall D tackle on the team, which right now we think that's the case. I think that could still be the case in the fall. Then I would play him either with Brevard, or if you feel like you need to save Brevard to anchor the second line, then you play your next best flogger, which I think is maybe Hero Canoe. Ideally would be Travis Shaw, but probably Hero Canoe. So I put January and Canoe as the first group. And then the second group, big, old, steady Brevard with young, flashy Watson. And then the third unit, just whoever's left with Justice Terry.
I might flip. What might I do?
Canoe and Brevard, I'd flip.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Only from an experience standpoint, a rep standpoint, and Brevard had a little bit of a head start too.
And you kind of made the point too that January does. I mean, if Brevard needs to be something else, or if Watson needs to be something else, you could move January maybe to that anchor spot.
I don't feel great about that because there's a bunch of guys that are like decent anchors. Like Johnson and Shaw can be decent anchors.
Right.
January's
a little bit heavier guy there.
January is one of the only guys that has like live in the backfield kind of potential.
I get that. He could do it, but it's not his best use.
I mean, I think you play Brevard in January in crunch time.
Okay.
Unless Watson is one of your, it might be Watson and Brevard or something in crunch time. But I'm just thinking like if you get 30 snaps for the first group, 30 snaps for the second group, and then 10 snaps for the last group, then the starter versus second string just doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
But I mean, y'all might be right that Brevard starts because he's better.
If it's 4th and 1 with 5 minutes left, Brevard and January are probably out there from what we kind of know now.
If it's 4th and 1 with 5 minutes left, then it's like the worst possible group. Because I swear, PK and this team, they managed to get the worst guys out there in the big spots like half the time at defensive tackle. The big play that Georgia had like right before overtime to score, to force overtime, or to score in overtime. They had Sydir Mitchell on the field, and they had Sydir Mitchell on the field when they called a stunt. So they asked Sydir Mitchell to like loop over a gap or two.
Oh no!
And guess what? He didn't get there. And guess who did? The running back. It's unbelievable sometimes how bad this team is at making sure the best D-tackle rotation is on the field in the big
They're not
spot.
terrible at it, but we
They
can.
did it against Washington in the playoffs too. They had a big fourth down where everyone was like, "Why in the world are Sweat and Murphy not on the field right now?"
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It's strange how much it happens.
It's a good point.
I do like this crew here. So good look at the big uglies.
James Oliver. Ian calls him cider, like apple cider. Cider Mitchell.
Call him Sayonara Mitchell.
Oh man! Before we keep going, got to show some love to our last sponsor. That is Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
Got a few good questions to go through. Shearman32, I love Sark, but if we are unfairly honest, which I don't know what that means, have Sark's guys underperformed recruiting interior defensive line so far until Justice? Or is that unfair? And scrolling through some of the comments, I think you're kind of looking at, Bo Davis said, well, he recruited 6 NFL guys in 4 years.
He didn't recruit those guys, Joe.
Ojomo, Coburn, Murphy, and Sweat were all recruited by
Oscar Giles.
The OG Oscar Giles signed with a lot of those guys signed with Tom Herman.
Also Broughton and Collins, I think.
Yes.
Broughton and Collins also signed with Tom
Bo
Herman.
Davis did not recruit any of those guys. The only thing Bo Davis even gets to put a stamp on is a piece of Byron Murphy. And Byron Murphy was already ready to be a great defensive lineman the day he arrived in Austin.
So
when he was the most ready guy I've seen in years.
Bo Davis left ahead, like in the last January, right? Like right after the Sugar Bowl, right?
Sounds right.
Okay. So most of the 2021 class had signed before Sark took over. Here are Bo Davis's defensive line recruits.
Oh, God, this ain't
good. Jure Bledsoe, who was celebrated for the win, but it just didn't work from at Texas. Yeah. Chris Ross, who did not work at Texas. Aaron Bryant, who I think anybody in that building will say good things about, but just got behind other guys and wanted to find playing time.
Good point.
Zach Swanson, transferred to Arizona State, is okay there, but is okay at Arizona State. Sydir Mitchell, who followed him to LSU, and then
that was a win over Georgia, so that was celebrated.
That was a good one. And then Trill Carter, transfer portal guy, serviceable for a year, went to Auburn. And then I'm trying to look up the 2024 commits were Alex January and Melvin Hills. And January was a good win. Florida State, LSU, A&M, OU all wanted him.
And January was going to Texas, despite Texas could have not had a D-line coach, and Alex January was going to Texas.
And then, so you look at the 2025 class, Kenny Baker's first real class, right? I think I'm getting those timelines right.
Kenny was Bacon.
Yeah, and there are some people who may want to say like, oh, these were NIL recruitments, these were Sark taking control, this was PK. Sure, I can get along with that, but still, these guys aren't going to sign up for the most part if they're like, yeah, but that position coach sucks, or yeah, I didn't build a relationship with that position coach. Like, there are some things that NIL has changed. There are some things that become, I think Eric likes to call them program recruitments, and that's true. Some of those were program recruitments. You still got to have the guy there that's going to coach them, be somebody that the players want to play for.
Yes.
You know, like if it gets to an all things equal thing, like, oh, I like the head coach. Oh,
Bo got the most out of him. I'll give him credit for that. I won't recruiting, but from a developmental standpoint, Bo got the most out of him.
Right. Yeah. And Bo should take credit for,
absolutely.
Murphy.
Trust me, he will take credit for it.
But bringing those guys to campus was something that just, it took him. It was not his strong suit. And Kenny Baker helped a lot in that regard and has some good lines in the water there. So, but every assistant coach has their strengths. And I think we're learning more about Kenny Baker's as time goes on, or R2D2 as Ian likes to reference him as.
R2D2.
Hey guys, I've finally got a comp for Justice Terry. You ready?
Okay, let's hear it.
Jason Taylor.
No. Quinnen Williams. 6'3", 303 at the combine, 4'8", 340.
I thought Quinnen was a lot bigger than that.
No, he was lightning quick.
Man, that's a great comp.
Yeah.
4'8", Terry supposedly ran a 4'8" in high school.
Who
didn't Quinnen get drafted by the Jets? Right?
I think so.
I think he's the starter. I think he's already one of the better D linemen in the NFL. I did not realize Quinnen was that light.
So
that's a good comp.
Shorter, but
who would have Quinnen Williams been playing by at Alabama?
Otis.
It was the year after Darren Payne, and they may have had Raekwon. What's his name?
Oh, if they had McMillan was a giant. Like that was a big guy.
I just thought of another comp too. Oh, it's gone. Oh, Levi Onwuzurike, however you say his name. He's like a powerful, lighter guy, 6'3", 295 as well, who was played for PK, Washington. There's a little bit of that.
Jonathan Allen.
Oh, man.
That was another man. I think he's playing for the Redskins right now.
Oh, man. Yeah, I like that one. So they were spending with Oscar Giles. No, Oscar was winning those recruitments. That was pre-NIL. Pre-over the table NIL. So they were.
Allen is a good one too. 6'3", 286.
Oscar was winning those recruitments, and if you want to know more about that, come see us at the tailgate, Inside Texas Tailgate tomorrow. We'll give you some happy hour material if you want to know how Big Oscar rolls in the recruiting world. I'll let Eric and Joe start with those stories, and I'll finish them.
Oh man, couple more just before we get out of here. I like this one. Might as well make a prediction. It's just April. What are your updated record predictions after portal additions? I don't see anything worse than 10-2.
12-0, 13-0, 14-0, maybe.
We can limit.
How are they losing ever again?
They're losing because they're playing at Sanford Stadium, probably at night, if anything. That's a tough one.
I don't rule out 3 losses.
I wouldn't either.
This
is going to be a different team.
The biggest over-under is probably like
9.5.
9 or 9.5, yeah.
That sounds about right. There's 2. I can find 2 losses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can also see this team in the playoff again.
They're not going to lose more than 3 or 4. It's going to be really hard to lose more than 3 or 4. But they have like 4 games maybe that are like could be 50-50 kind of.
They have a stretch where they're not at home for about a month. And one of those includes the OU game in Dallas. And I think
that first SEC game in Gainesville is going to be tough.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's going to be hyped up to the
Florida will be a better team.
That'll be the Lagway versus Arch storyline.
Yes. That'll be your top 2 quarterbacks drafted in the 2027 NFL draft. That's your 1 and 2 right there.
If you thought Vanderbilt was pesky, wait till you're in the swamp.
Whoa, buddy, good call.
They call it that for a reason.
It's a swamp without nerds.
Ian, we haven't gotten much from NFL. We kind of
talked. Isn't there a draft? When's the draft? I'm trying to remember when the draft, because we've been talking about the draft a lot, and I can't remember when it's supposed to happen.
It's tonight. Justin and I talked about this with Evan last night. We're thinking Golden for the Cowboys, unless they botch that. And
because
then
the Cowboys are terrible poker players. Yes.
And then for the Texans, if they are, I feel like the Texans trade up and, hey, maybe get Kelvin Banks. Like it could be.
Would you be happy with Will Campbell?
Hey, no.
No, I'd rather get the Missouri guy.
Or Banks, right?
Yes, Banks first.
Well, we'd heard Houston likes Banks a lot, and they could potentially trade up with Dallas to get that 12. That's if the Bears pass on Banks, which I don't know if the Bears are going to pass on Banks. Like, you're going to have to get a blindside left tackle for Caleb Williams if you're going to even come close to making that work. And Ben Johnson, first thing he's going to want to do is run the football in Chicago.
Hey, speaking of Houston, if they can get away with taking cheap shots on Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, they have a chance in this series.
Boy, that was
eye for an eye, right?
That was slick.
I know. Hey,
no, I think Gaiman Thompson might have done that on purpose. That was all kinds of suspicious. Did you watch the game, Joe?
Yeah, I saw that clip. I don't know.
I was watching some of it. I was watching Stars and Avalanche.
Stuff on Steph. Everybody does that in the playoffs. That's what everybody has to try to do.
Before we get out of here, though, because it got chippy. That's for sure. Went both ways. I won't lie about that.
The Warriors were cutting guys' legs out when they were in the air. I didn't see that.
Let's. Have you watched a Warriors game in the past 10 years?
Yeah, I don't see a lot.
I'm about to say that. Hey, Draymond Green did do a good job of acting. I did like that. I think Jalen Green gave him a people's elbow off the top rope, and Draymond was just unconscious.
Last football thing, and Ian, I'm putting you on the spot here.
Oh, okay.
If I could interest you, you're a Steelers fan, Steelers guy.
I know where this is going.
You pay attention to them. Can I interest you in a Quinn Ewers in the second round?
No.
Ian Boyd.
Quinn Ewers in the playing in Pittsburgh and Baltimore against those.
Nowhere in the NFC North.
In Cleveland.
Cleveland would be like prison.
I hate that. The Cincinnati, the cold weather outdoor stadiums against physical teams.
It can't be the NFC North. He lived in Columbus. He didn't like it.
I think that'd be AFC North, right?
AFC North. I don't like keep saying. Well, no. Yeah, it's AFC North. I keep saying the NFC for some reason. You're right.
All right. So who do the Steelers take in the first round then?
God only knows. I mean, there's a lot of that.
What pick are they at? What pick?
There's a lot of that. I think 21.
They need everything.
The Shador buzz is pretty strong. I don't like that Shador.
Yes.
That's not where I expected this conversation to go.
Ian, I will be so happy for you if Pittsburgh drafts Shador Sanders. I mean, I will be tickled.
Me and the Steelers are hot and cold. I'll just ditch them so fast.
Yeah,
I'm not loyal to anybody in the NFL. I'm not going to watch them if they're terrible. So,
that's hilarious. I think it's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders for Quinn. I think it'll probably be the third round. When the next quarterback run happens, I think that's when you're going to see Quinn come on.
If you were going to make a bet with me where one of us had to wear an embarrassing T-shirt on live,
I know.
He didn't go yes. Second. Now he's in the third for you.
Well,
oh man,
it's good. It's all about when these guys make a run. It really is. He could go in the second if those quarterbacks start coming off the board. It doesn't sound like that's going to be the case though. It sounds like it's going to be probably earlier in the third when that starts to happen. This is the worst quarterback class I can remember.
I think we're going to
see a reach.
We're going to see a run of quarterbacks in the second round. I feel like because no team wants that fifth year option for this quarterback class, and that's what a first round pick entails. Like Cam Ward. Like if you're Tennessee,
the Titans don't even want to draft Cam Ward.
I know, but like if you really believe in him, you're like fine with that fifth year option. But is there another quarterback in this class you want to maybe have for half a decade?
No,
that you're ready to go with. So
no.
I bet. I know we usually see these runs kind of start in the third round, but I think day 2 is going to be a lot of quarterbacks. And you know what? If a run gets going, and granted, I know he's basically kind of competing with Jackson Dart. You're competing with
he's actually competing with Tyler Shock and Jalen Milroe. And I'm just like, people, what are we doing here? Tyler is terrible.
Yeah,
Joe.
Tyler is toolsy, but then they don't watch the game.
Toolsy without the belt.
Yeah, I think Quinn. I wouldn't be surprised. Quinn's for sure day 2. We'll see if he goes second round or third round. So it should be a lot of fun. We'll be able to talk about that tonight. Make sure, if you have not already done so, head to InsideTexas.com. You can get 4 months of access for just $1. This is a fun night, fun football night. Heck, if you sign up, we got a little contest going on over on the board for picking the draft correctly. Eric Naleen always runs that. So make sure you go check that out. 4 months for $1. And again, if you have not heard about this, and I guess you haven't been watching the channel that much, but Inside Texas and Academy are coming together for a tailgate giveaway this Friday. Tomorrow, get there around 3:30. We'll be out in the left field berm between center field and the tennis center. We'll have a tent. Not that one listed. Actually, that one may be there, but we'll be in a white tent with a banner that says Inside Texas on it. All this stuff on the screen you will see. We'll have a raffle to give away. Griddle, hard cooler, canopy, folding chair, Yeti tumblers, all the good stuff. No purchase necessary. Must be 18. Must be present. Should be a lot of fun. So, gentlemen, it's draft day. It's a lot of fun, but we're always bringing the good stuff at Inside Texas. Y'all always bring the good stuff today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.